So, what are we watching this week?
The Batman's got me in a mood to do another noir detective story.
Like Maltese Falcon or Chinatown?
Actually, I'm thinking Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, that's kind of similar, I guess. The Vista series.
Buena Vista,
Oh,
I guess.
interesting.
That was when Disney had that other division that they wanted to pretend wasn't actually Disney and that made movies that weren't Disney movies.
Yeah, Disney does that, don't they? They're like, we're family friendly, but we also know how much money we can make not being family friendly. Although now they're just like, we have a rated R section. Don't tell your kids. There are Marvel movies with boobs or shows.
Both.
Yeah. They don't drop F-bombs, but
Well, the movies do.
yeah.
Actually,
right.
there's some of the X-Men movies, they're on Disney Plus. They say fuck.
That's true. Welcome to the Out of Touch podcast.
May as well start.
Or, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Chris. That's Bill. And today we are watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit, a film from 1988 made by Robert Zemeckis.
Great filmmaker.
Yes, he's made a lot of classics. So, Bill, I will let you take point on this because you really wanted to watch this movie.
I mean, I love this movie.
It's a great movie.
It is a love letter to the golden age of animation. It is a pretty decent noir detective story at its core.
Yeah.
And it's just this weird hybrid of animation and live action, and no one's ever done it better.
Yeah, definitely. I guess a brief little plot thing if you don't know, but if you don't know, go watch the movie. Eddie Valiant is a private dick, because that's the terminology you used in 1947.
Sure.
He is a drunk,
Absolutely.
and he is a very sad man.
His brother is dead.
Yes, and he gets involved in finding some blackmail for Roger Rabbit because his,
Not blackmail.
well,
He gets coerced into getting illicit photos of Roger Rabbit's pretty much cliche femme fatale wife
yeah,
cheating on him?
yes, playing patty cake.
Playing
That
patty
actual
cake.
game you play with little babies.
With the head of the Acme Company.
Yeah, and
Murder is afoot, and all the evidence points to Roger Rabbit.
right, because the Acme guy gets killed, and Roger Rabbit, goes nuclear when he finds out his wife's playing patty cake with the Acme guy, and that's kind of where the plot goes from there. So
Yep.
it's a movie that I think a lot of people have seen. When I was a kid, they played this on TV a few times. That's how I first saw it.
I first saw it, I think, at my grandmother's house. I think she had a copy of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I saw this movie, how I saw many movies as a child on New York station Pix 11, their movie Saturdays, and that's how me and my sister saw a lot of movies.
Oh, I saw a lot of movies that way, too.
Yeah. And, it's been a while since I've seen this. Not too long, because I think we have watched it not too recently, but I do remember we did watch it together at least like once in the past like 5 years or so. So,
It's probably something like that.
yeah.
I mean, I've also watched this movie not that long ago
Yeah.
because it's just one of my favorites. Much like Ghostbusters, it was a movie that I didn't own for a very long time, but would constantly come across on TV and just start watching it
Yeah.
and be like, oh, this movie's so cool. This movie it's kind of a miracle in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's a movie that you forget like exists with like how many there's a lot of cameos in this movie and a lot of cameos that will probably never happen ever again.
Never ever.
Yeah.
This movie is the only time you will probably ever see officially Donald Duck and Daffy Duck, and more importantly, Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse
Yeah.
in the same scenes, next to each other, talking to each other.
Yeah, that stuff is crazy, and it's weird how that stuff is kind of just more or less like
It's just
the background.
It's just window dressing. And,
Yeah.
it's kind of great that it's just that, because you have this world, it's a it's a tribute to the age of animation that they're from, and just their presence adds like a legitimacy to this world. It's like, yeah, look, there's Betty Boop, there's Bugs Bunny, there's Woody Woodpecker. Yeah, they're all from this time. And it doesn't feel strange when they're just like, oh yeah, there's Roger Rabbit too. If it was just like, oh, it's Roger Rabbit and generic cartoons we've never seen before and we'll never see again, this movie, it would still be good, but there's just that little bit more that just kind of elevates it just enough.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie, I don't think it was like the first movie to have like animation and live
not by a
action.
long shot.
Yeah, because I know like Mary Poppins came before this.
Way before that.
Even before that.
Some of the first animation was cartoons interacting with real people.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, and then there's lots of other examples. Obviously, you said Mary Poppins and a lot of old Disney stuff, but this was a whole nother level.
Yeah, I think like it's interesting because like this is the first time, you know, you see the cartoon characters, they're the cartoon characters, but they're also like actors too, which is weird. Like they film the cartoons and the cartoons, it's bizarre. Like the cartoons, they seem to have like their own set of like rules because they're cartoons. Like they can do all the cartoon stuff you would expect, but they can also interact with the real world.
Yes.
And I guess it's not really the real world. They just can interact with the world, but they're made out of paint for some reason because they're cartoons.
It's just one of those things, you just got to go with it.
Yeah.
This is the world that this movie exists in, and you got to roll with it.
Yeah, I will say, watching this movie again, I always forget how sad, like, the beginning of this movie is. Especially, like, there's one scene where, you know, Eddie Valiant, he's, you know, doing this stuff, but he has, like, a camera that he borrows from, I guess, like, his girlfriend. It's kind of, like, weird at first. You're like, are they, like, together, or are they just kind of, like, I think, whatever?
I mean, it's clear, as we find out, that, yeah, they were together, but after his brother was murdered, their relationship kind of fizzled because he descended into depression and alcoholism.
Yeah, there's a really good moment that, like, never really noticed, but, like, you know, he takes the camera, his girlfriend kind of says, like, oh, hey, be careful, our vacation pictures are there. And, of course, he uses the camera to take the pictures of Jessica, he develops the film, and then he's, like, flipping through the pictures and finds the pictures of his, like, vacation, and he's all like, oh, yeah, that was so nice. And then he gets to the picture of his brother, and it's just like, whoa, that was like a really, like, sad moment.
And there's another great, just nice shot as we get kind of his entire backstory as he kind of, like, passes out drunk. The camera pans around his brother's desk.
Yeah.
We see newspaper clippings of their exploits, of saving Huey, Dewey, and Louie from being kidnapped.
Yeah.
Goofy from, I guess, being accused of being a communist spy. We see that they have a history at the circus with their dad. We see that they were once cops, and then they went to the business for themselves.
Yeah.
We get this entire story in just this one shot, and it's not cut away. It just goes around, and then we stop. It's daytime. Great.
It's
nice.
A really effective shot. Like,
yes.
It takes a lot for me to get, like, a little emotional. And even talking about it, I was kind of like, hold back your tears. But it's a really effective thing in this movie.
Let's face it, none of the movies that have tried to do Roger Rabbit have had a filmmaker like Robert Zemeckis behind the camera.
Yeah.
Because he's a talented filmmaker. He's made a lot of great movies.
Yeah.
This is the man that made Back to the Future, damn it.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the setup for this, like, noir detective movie, which, you know, it's interesting. It's a period piece, 1947, right after the war. So it's like an interesting period to set this in. And yeah, I guess, like, should go from there to, like, Roger Rabbit. It's weird because watching this movie, it's like, man, Roger Rabbit, you could say he's a lot like Bugs Bunny, but, like, at the same time, I'm like, who does this character remind me of? And I'm like, this character reminds me of Roger Rabbit because I've seen this movie a million times, and he's kind of his own thing.
Yes.
Like,
he's clearly inspired by a bunch of different characters.
Yeah.
There's obviously some Bugs Bunny in him, a little more literally than many of us would probably realize. Because, you know, there's some Mickey Mouse in him and all that.
he's like kind of, you know, I guess zany. Like, his whole thing is...
As many cartoons of that era were.
Yeah.
He's got some Tex Avery all over the top, really over the topness to him.
Yeah, he's like extremely clumsy. He talks like in I don't know exactly how to say. He sort of like stutters sometimes when he talks.
Yeah.
But he's kind of like a buffoon in many ways.
This is why right away you'd probably realize, I don't think this guy could actually kill somebody.
Yeah.
I think this is a frame up.
I mean, there's the scene where he drinks the liquor in the office and he literally, I guess the best way to say it is goes bananas. Like
He basically explodes almost.
yeah, he's a very unique character, and so unique that I'm like, who does he remind me of? And I'm like, it's Roger Rabbit, because it's a unique character and it's kind of how it is, and kind of an iconic character too.
Somewhat
Yeah.
forgotten, but that's got its own reasoning because he's kind of shared between Disney and Amblin, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, his rights are kind of weird, right?
Yeah, like this movie was a big hit, and Disney, I think, did intend to do more with the character. There was big plans for the parks and stuff, but they never quite materialized, and then they just kind of went away. There was even supposed to be a sequel at one point.
Wow.
There was a script and everything.
Huh.
It was more of it was a prequel. It was also like Roger and his friends like go to war, and Roger goes on the search for his parents, and we find out who his dad is at the end of the movie, and it's Bugs Bunny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah, it's weird. It's like this one movie is, like you said, it's a miracle that it exists in many ways.
I think a lot of the non-Disney characters, I think a lot of that is thanks to Spielberg's involvement. I mean, he's in good with Universal, so that's probably how you get Woody Woodpecker. And I don't know, I guess he was just close enough to a lot of executives being like, oh man, this would be great. This would be great. The main thing that Warner Brothers wanted with to allow Bugs and Daffy to appear in the movie is like they need equal screen time to Mickey and Donald. So their solution was like, we'll just have them on the screen at the same time, which I'm like, I'm glad, good.
Yeah.
I get to see Donald and Daffy actually interact and Bugs and Mickey actually interact. It would suck if they were all in this movie and they never interacted.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because like the Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny is kind of a big deal, but when they interact, it's like, okay, Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny, they're friends, but the real show is when Daffy and Donald interact and they hate each other, and it's amazing.
Yes.
And it's mostly in the background, but they have a piano battle, and
That's one of the best parts of the movie.
it's so good. It's amazing. And stuff escalates. I think like the guy Acme even says like one day they'll finish this routine. So they always end up like killing each other at the end. But yeah, and that stuff like is all in the background of this movie, and the big cartoony stuff, that stuff is not really as much in the movie as I thought it was. Like there's a lot because Roger Rabbit is the main character and everything, but
he's the main source of cartooning.
Yeah.
It's him and the weasels.
yeah, like all the cartoony stuff is mostly like their original creations. You get the little bit of the cameos just in the background, and that's kind of it.
And some towards like the end when Eddie goes to Toontown.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, this movie has like really impressive visual effects. I mean, especially for the time, and even now, like.
It was all done by hand, the animation.
Yeah. By hand, like multiple cells in order to get like the light and shadowing effects.
And
like,
then the only use of computers was to just kind of blend it all perfectly.
yeah.
And it just still looks really good.
Yeah. And it's a shame, like to make that type of animation takes so much work.
Yeah.
But it looks so good. And, now they're making like a movie that's similar to this, that I think I'm the only person in the world that it hurts my soul that they're making a Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie.
Can it even be called that?
I don't know, but like it seems so soulless.
I mean, honestly, the only thing that hurt me was just having Roger Rabbit cameo in that. I was like, how dare you? How dare you think that you're doing a Who Framed Roger Rabbit? You're not even going to be on the same level as this movie.
I mean, maybe it might be good, but I'm just like,
Who cares?
I'm like, ugh. But this movie gets it right, and
One of my favorite things, and like, I don't think I ever noticed it as a kid, but watching this movie multiple times and seeing the making of stuff, it's just like, oh my God. The cartoon characters, they almost never hold something animated. They're always holding something real.
Yeah.
The weasels, they could easily just have cartoon guns. No, they hold real guns.
Yeah.
Just to make things, the real world and the cartoon world blend. They built all these crazy puppets. They built a puppet just to smash plates over itself, just for one gag.
They built a puppet for just to hold a cigar for when the baby is in Eddie's apartment's hallway talking to Eddie. Like, there's so much work that went into this movie.
I know,
it's
and
insane.
like, if you watch, like, I bet if I put on freaking Looney Tunes Back in Action, I'd be like, it's all just cartoons. They're all just on green screens.
Yeah.
They're not interacting with anything.
Whereas
this is just like they're picking stuff up, they're throwing around drinks, catching stuff.
Like, so much detail. I mean, even to the part where, like, Roger jumps on the bed and, like, they have the impression of him, like, the weight of him. Like,
Yeah.
all the sounds, all the interacting with the environment.
Probably the weakest special effect, and it's weak. It's like not even like a nitpick. It's just like the cartoons in the real world look amazing. Eddie in the cartoon world doesn't look as good, but it's almost okay because he's a real person and running around a drawing, so it's okay to look a little weird.
Yeah, I will. There's one thing if we're gonna like nitpick. I love when Eddie, like, we're jumping around, but whatever. There's a part of the movie where Eddie has to go into Toontown. Everybody knows he has a gun that's from Yosemite Sam.
Yes,
it's pretty great, but that gun goes from being a cartoon gun to just being like a toy gun sometimes. And I never really noticed it before, but like I was like, oh, he's holding like a big toy in some scenes. But that gun's pretty fun. I like how all the bullets talk and stuff. And
they get easily tricked.
yeah, guns from Yosemite Sam, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's nice. I love the little details like that. That's great.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy too. Like some of the cameos, like just Yosemite Sam has a cameo, and it's like so fast. He just like, for some reason, just flies out of Toontown and his butt's on fire, and he's like, my biscuits are burning, and just puts his butt in the puddle to cool it off. It's so weird and crazy.
Freaking Dumbo just showed up for peanuts.
Yeah.
We get a Droopy cameo. Just
right.
Tweety Bird just being a dick.
Tweety looks so weird in this movie, and I don't know if it's because he's supposed to be like tired or what, but like he looks very weird. His eyes are like halfway closed, and
Tweety would usually be drawn like that in the old days.
yeah, I guess I just remember.
They're very much trying to draw the characters as they looked back then, not as they looked at the time.
Yeah.
Like you can even look at the way Daffy is drawn in that movie. He looks more old school Daffy, not like the more well-known modern Daffy.
That's true, and I guess it's just like one of those things where it's just like Bugs Bunny, Mickey Mouse haven't changed much because...
Well, they have, but they changed a lot very early on.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Daffy and Tweety and even like Porky, they changed a little slower.
Yeah.
It was like I think Porky was fatter at one point.
Interesting. Yeah, it's weird. Like all these cartoon characters, you know, they've almost been around for like 100 years now.
Pretty crazy.
Insane. Like a lot of these...
Disney's being like, we got to get on that copyright thing. We got to get on that law. We got to fix that. We got to change that.
I mean, I think Woody Woodpecker came out like in the 20s, right? And Betty Boop.
Betty Boop
was like real old.
Betty Boop is really old. I don't know about Woody Woodpecker. I feel like Woody Woodpecker, that's definitely a post-Mickey Bugs Bunny creation, I think. Because he feels like of that era.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Like, I guess like the oldest stuff would be like
Felix the Cat.
Yeah, which he has kind of a cameo. He's on like a thing in the movie. Like I think for like Toontown, you can see a picture of Felix there because like I guess he's usually considered like one of the first cartoons.
Yeah, he's pretty old. He's a very old cartoon character.
But yeah, these things they've just been around forever, and I guess they don't have as much like prominence as they used to. Like, it would be interesting showing, like, a kid this movie now and being like, do you know who Bugs Bunny is? Like...
That's unfortunate, because, like, they would probably know Mickey, but...
Yeah.
Touch and go... It's hard to say with Bugs. I feel like the 90s was, like, the last generation to, like... that would, like, know the Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
because they just stopped doing stuff with them.
But yeah, and it's weird because like all that stuff is just like window dressing for this movie.
I know it's like you have the movie is a delicious cake. It's amazing. It's great, and it's like, oh my god, look at this amazing icing on top. It's really good. We didn't need it.
Yeah.
But it just makes it a little bit better.
Yeah. Just going some scenes, like, it's kind of funny, like, you know, Roger Rabbit, he's married to Jessica Rabbit, who is this, like, seductive lounge singer that everybody is just like, wait, that's Roger Rabbit's wife? How?
She's very much inspired by like Red Hot Riding Hood. It's like a weird Tex Avery short that you've probably never seen.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe the few seconds of it that you can see in The Mask. But I saw that cartoon a bunch growing up because I had Cartoon Network. So I watched all these old cartoons. The only old cartoons I didn't watch were the Disney ones because I didn't get Disney Channel on my TV for some reason.
You see, that's like, I had these tapes when I was a kid. Like, one of the tapes had a bunch of like, you know, Warner Brothers old cartoons, like really old cartoons. It had like Bugs Bunny, like all the Looney Tune cartoons, as well as like some weird cartoons and like the Superman cartoon, like the Max Fleischer Superman cartoon.
Right.
And they just like, you put in the tape and it would just like play this stuff, and you get like a Looney Tune cartoon, maybe something else, then you get a Superman cartoon, and then it kind of just would repeat for a while. And
there was a lot of cartoon blocks like that where they would just play like, you never knew what they were going to play. Maybe it'd be a Looney Tune, maybe it'd be a Tex Avery short, Droopy and Tom and Jerry, and then Superman would pop up a lot. Like they would just air these old shorts. They slowly kind of phased them out. Then it kind of just became like, here's Looney Tunes, here's Tom and Jerry, and maybe we do a Tex Avery hour, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Everything else got kind of pushed away.
Yeah, so I had that tape, and I had a Disney tape that was like that too. And I watched all those old Disney cartoons. And I remember the old Disney cartoons were just as funny as the Warner Brothers ones, especially the Goofy ones.
I've seen some Goofy. I never saw a lot of other stuff.
Was incredible, and Roger Rabbit even says, like, Goofy's the best. Like, he even, like, compliments, like, his work. Like, you know, there's all those, like, Goofy cartoons with him like learning how to ski and like doing other stuff. They're great and hilarious.
I think the few old school Goofy shorts I've seen, there was like when I was a kid, I would catch like the ones where it's like it's not just Goofy, there's just like 50 Goofies, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? Why is there so many Goofies?
Yeah, me and my cousin used to have like a debate about like, is Goofy really a dog? Because he looks more like a llama or something. But I know he's a dog now. But
he clearly looks like a dog.
But
Where
like,
the hell are you getting a llama?
I don't know, because like the argument was like, well, Pluto's a dog, but he's like a regular dog. So like, why is Goofy able to talk and Pluto can't?
Because Pluto was Mickey's dog, and they didn't always interact.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the only thing you could assume.
Exactly.
Oh man, I wonder, has there ever been like a shot of Donald Duck eating like a turkey dinner for Thanksgiving?
That would be so weird, but I bet you can find a clip of that like Once Upon a Christmas with like Scrooge McDuck, and he's just like, here's our Christmas goose.
I would hope that they'd be savvy enough to be like, Christmas ham.
You know what? That's probably a good point. They probably did do that.
I mean, granted, there's plenty of birds that eat other birds.
Yeah.
So it's not that weird.
Definitely not. But
you probably don't want to put that in a cartoon.
Yeah, that would be weird.
Especially if it's meant for children.
Yeah. Roger Rabbit, though. We went off on a tangent of old school cartoons.
Yes, we did.
But
I guess we should talk about Judge Doom.
Yes.
Christopher Lloyd.
Who is terrifying.
I love the little touch. I don't know if you noticed it, where even if he's indoors, his like long coat is always billowing in the wind.
Yeah.
It's so absurd.
It's weird too, because like Judge Doom shows up and it kind of like tells you like, so are Toons second class citizens? Because he like has the shoe that like literally rubs up against him and grabs the shoe, and then he's like, okay, you're gonna die, because he has this stuff called dip that dissolves cartoons because it's paint thinner.
Yeah.
He is crazy, and I remember as a kid being like at the end of the movie where, it's revealed he's actually a Toon and he has his red eyes.
And he's the one that killed Eddie's brother.
Yeah, and he's terrifying. He's like really scary, honestly. I always wondered what his true Toon form looked like, but it's probably better off that you don't know.
Yeah, I think that's better. It's better that way. I remember I've read that one of the ideas for him was that he was the hunter that killed Bambi's mom.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird because he wants to like kill all the Toons for capitalism, I guess.
Well, he's more interested in wiping out Toontown. I don't think he can give two fucks about what happens to the Toons. They either all die or they get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
His entire plan is to build a freeway.
I know, it's so like weird.
The crazy thing about his plan is that it's something that kind of actually happened in real life.
Yeah.
Like the dismantling of the Los Angeles public transportation system.
Yeah, for a freeway. Jumping around, like, so the era this is set in, Eddie's girlfriend owns this, like, bar.
Well, she doesn't own it. She works at it.
She works at it, and there's the part where, like, Judge Doom and his weasels are going there to, like, find Roger and Eddie. And then she's just like, oh, here, like, this is the old Prohibition section of the bar or something.
Yeah, a holdover from Prohibition, I guess, because the bar at one point was like a speakeasy.
Yeah.
Had a little speakeasy lounge in the back, but now it's just a storage room.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh yeah, because that stuff, was only a few years ago in this time period, and it's weird to think about stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, Prohibition. That was a thing that happened in America.
Created the mafia. Good job.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, the scene in the bar with the plates and breaking on Roger's head with the robot, which is insane.
And it's funny with Judge Doom coming there, he tends to just kill Roger then and there.
Yeah.
Second class citizen doesn't even get a trial.
I know.
It's like, I deem you guilty. It's like, whoa. Court system? It's like, nope.
It's weird too, because like just before that, he says like, I'll try him and then kill him. But then now he's just like, no, I'm just going to kill him. Like,
yeah.
Whatever.
What happened to the trial part? He's a Toon. No one will care.
Yeah.
It's like, jeez.
I guess like the big thing in this movie is there's like a ticking clock element to the movie with Acme is killed. Roger Rabbit is framed for Acme being killed. Acme had a will leaving Toontown to the Toons because he technically owned it.
Yeah, he owned the land that Toontown was built on.
Yeah.
And he had told the Toons that he was going to leave Toontown to them, and they couldn't find the will.
It's like if they don't get the will by the end of the day, then Judge Doom can just make an offer for the land.
Yeah, and he could just buy it. Yeah. And Roger has the will on him the entire time because Jessica was given a blank piece of paper by Marvin Acme because he's a dickhead.
Yeah.
Because he wrote his will in disappearing ink.
Yeah.
Disappearing, reappearing ink.
Right.
And Roger wrote a love note to Jessica on it.
Yeah.
So he carries it for part of the movie. I think Eddie carries it for a while. It's a good thing no one just like threw it out.
Yeah. Stupid love letter, whatever.
Lighted on fire.
Yeah.
Crumbled in a ball, eats it.
Yeah, we get some of the Acme gadgets, like during like the crime scene of when Acme's murdered, like the one cop has like the hammer that has like the extendo boxing glove that comes out.
I've always been a fan of spring-loaded boxing gloves for some reason.
Yeah.
Just something about a dude who just like opens the thing and just gets slugged in the face. I just find that hilarious.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Like, it's such a unique and cool movie, and the behind the scenes of the movie is like just as interesting as the movie of like how they did everything to make this movie.
Yeah, because it was the 80s. It was not easy stuff to do back then.
Yeah. And it's like it's like kind of crazy, like the amount of detail they thought of. Like, we have to have the Toons interact with the real world. Like you mentioned, like somebody made like a subtle jab to Space Jam where it's just like, we want it to look like people are talking to the Toons, not just looking through them or something. Which,
we were having a conversation before,
yeah.
and I kind of took a shot at Space Jam, because it never really feels like anybody's properly interacting in those movies.
Right.
Because they just insert basketball player on green screen.
Yeah.
That's all those movies are.
But this movie is just like next level of that, and made earlier than
all those other movies are just chasing Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
You got these movies that like overload on like look at all these like crazy cameos. Like I remember when that Wreck-It Ralph movie came out. It's like the Who Framed Roger Rabbit of video games, and I'm just like, yeah, sure it is.
It is, but like they don't even have Mario in it.
Nope.
Yeah.
If they had Mario and Sonic interacting in one scene, they would have nailed it.
There's a sequel to that movie that I've never seen.
Me neither.
And I don't dislike Wreck-It Ralph.
I mean, I enjoyed it for what it
Yeah.
was, but I don't know. I just saw the trailers and I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't help that one just seemed like, it's just all the Disney IP.
Yeah, more or less.
And then you mentioned, there's that Chip and Dale movie.
Hurts my soul. It might be good, but I don't know why. I just watched that trailer and I'm like, what? Who thought this was a good idea?
Looney Tunes Back in Action they did the cartoons in the real world thing, but it was weird. It was.
Never seen it.
Maybe we should watch it one day.
Yeah. I think I've seen parts of it, but I've never seen the whole thing.
I'd be curious to see your reaction to it.
Yeah, because I have a soft spot for the Looney Tunes. You know,
Yeah,
I watched a lot of them growing up, so
Oh yeah.
I don't think I would like completely hate anything they're in, except maybe Space Jam 2. But that's a story for a different video.
That we already made.
Yes.
Because we'll never watch that movie again.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess any final thoughts on Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
A couple. If you look at the title, you'll notice there's no punctuation.
Oh.
And it was because apparently some higher up was just like, people won't see a movie with a question mark, they'll get confused.
Or people too dumb to even realize the difference, like me.
It's literally because someone thought people were dumb.
Yeah.
It's like, that's weird.
That is weird.
Like the title is literally a question.
Yeah.
It's Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I mean, granted, the answer is pretty obvious because Judge Doom is blatantly obvious the villain. But the mystery part is also like, why is this happening?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Judge Doom, though, just he's so terrifying when he has his
he's a
eyes.
very memorable character. I like Eddie Valiant. He's a very memorable character.
Yeah.
Roger's good. Jessica's good. Taxicab's fun.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I get a kick out of the weasels dying of laughter.
Yeah, that's pretty good. They have like the angels that fly away.
And it's a miracle of a movie.
Yeah.
Just from a technical level at the time, it's a miracle. The extra additions of all those different characters is a miracle in of itself. Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse never happened before, probably never happen again.
Yeah. Even Minnie Mouse is in the movie.
For a minute.
For a second. Like that ending shot, there's like,
Yeah.
they're just like, get everybody you can.
Everybody in. And
everybody's going to sing.
I love the final shot of the movie too. I think it's perfect. It is literally a perfect ending for this movie. When the cops are like, all right, everybody out of here, that's all, folks. And then one of them turns around, yeah, it's not a bad idea, it's Porky Pig. And he goes, that's all, folks. And you get the little Tinkerbell thing too.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's just perfect.
It's such great ending. And it's just like, it's weird that a Disney movie ends with
that's
Porky
all, folks.
Yeah.
Well, they made sure that they got their little Tinkerbell in last, though.
I mean, like, and that's fair, Like,
yeah.
I like that. Like,
it's just like a nice blending of the two.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. It literally is perfect for that movie. It's a perfect ending to a practically perfect movie.
Yeah. It's a great movie.
One of my favorites.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, go watch it because.
If you have any love for Golden Age cartoons, it's a love letter to that.
Yep. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I guess that's Out of Touch podcast for this week. And go watch Roger Rabbit.
That's all, folks.